Welcome to the We're Good podcast, where we are celebrating the everyday brilliance of people working toward a more positive world. If you're looking for the good that's taking place around you, you've come to the right place. What if the biggest threat to our environment isn't what you think? Right here in Northern Virginia, entire ecosystems are quietly disappearing, replaced by plants that don't belong. And most of us don't even realize it's happening in our own backyards or our parks.
In the DC area, we don't have a lot of parkland left.
Today, we head outdoors with Earth Sangha, a local nonprofit transforming landscapes and even helping everyday gardeners. So here's the big question. Why does native plant restoration matter? Let's step into the garden and find out on the We're Good podcast. This episode of the We're Good podcast is brought to you in partnership with the Community Foundation for Northern Virginia, an organization building a region that works for everyone. With deep local roots and mission-driven collaboration, they are making more possible across Northern Virginia. Welcome back to the We're Good podcast. I'm Lee Ann Necessary Brownlee, your host. And yes, we are back out on location. So if you're listening, you're going to hear the birds singing. It is the start of spring, and we are in Springfield, Virginia at Earth Sangha. They are welcoming us here today, a nonprofit doing amazing work in conservation and planting native plants. And so I'm so excited to be joined by Executive Director Maddie Wright.
Thank you so much for coming out.
You grew up here. I can't wait for everyone to hear your amazing journey. And you've already given us a beautiful tour. So I can't wait for people to be sure and tune in, see the pictures, look on our YouTube channel. It's going to be exciting. Also, Caroline Haynes, who is a master naturalist and a decades-long volunteer here.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Looking forward to hearing that. And Brooke Eamon Jones, who is a senior at Justice High School. And you also have a multi-generational story. You are passing the torch to a new generation of people, teaching them why it's so exciting and actually getting them involved.
Certainly.
You've done a lot of work at your own park, Justice Park, so we can't wait to hear about that project.
Yeah, can't wait.
Thank you. Maddie, we're going to start with you. We're going to hear your journey in a minute, so I want everybody to stay tuned. But first and foremost, the why Earth Sangha exists and why it's so important for all of us, whether you have a green thumb or not. We don't want people to tune out if they say, I can't grow anything, but you can, right? And it's important for people to know why it's so important what you're doing here.
Yeah, so we work in native plant conservation. And the reason, ecologically speaking, that's so important is because everything around us, all the wildlife, the birds that we hear chirping in the background right now, the frogs that maybe you hear calling at night, if if it's a nice warm evening and you got the windows open, all of those things really depend on our native plants for good habitat around here. And what's so critical about that is that especially in an urban area, in the DC area, we don't have a lot of parkland left. So it's really important that the parkland that we have be very, very functional. What that means in a practical sense is we need to remove invasive species. Those are species that aren't from around here that are causing harm, and we need to replace them with the native plants that allow functional ecology to exist, that allow beneficial insects and pollinators to go to their flowers, to eat their leaves, which in turn feed our birds, our amphibians, our mammals, all sorts of things. We also need to work on private lands too. So if you have a garden, our nursery, our wild plant nursery right here in Springfield is a really good resource for folks who are involved in that. If you don't have a garden, if you're not a gardener, there are a lot of other opportunities too. There are landscape designers, folks who work with native plants who can help you design a garden, who can help install it. In fact, Brooke does some of that work now herself, which we're very proud of. Even if you live in a condo, an apartment, and you don't have a yard, there are lots of ways to get involved as a volunteer and do some of that really important work on public lands. A lot of that engagement can come through Master Naturalist chapters, which we'll talk about. So there are a lot of ways to get involved in this sort of thing. And even if you're not an outdoorsy person, even just learning about these things, telling your neighbors, getting opportunities for kids in your neighborhood, kids in your family to get involved. This is an all ages sort of thing.
It is an all ages thing. And your journey is so cool because you grew up here.
I did.
Literally here where we're sitting. Tell us about that. Your parents started Earth Sangha.
Yeah, so my parents started this organization in 1997. I was 8 years old. And so we began by growing out trees and shrubs back then there was a real need to expand what are called stream buffers. So for the health of the stream, to recreate sort of forest habitat, there was a big push in Fairfax County, but other jurisdictions as well, to expand those stream buffers and plant out native trees. And they wanted to use trees that were from right here, that were what we call local ecotype, because there's a lot of research that suggests that those local ecotype trees support the most wildlife. So we went out and we collected acorns, we collected hickory nuts, we collected seed from all sorts of different species. And I remember being, 8 years old and going out with my mom and dad and scooping up these acorns, and we just grew them out in the backyard. We started growing here at our Springfield site in 2001. So I was in middle school, actually, in that point. I went off to college. I've now worked here full time for 15 years, and I've been executive director for 3 years. So it's been really amazing. We've seen so much growth, and now, thanks to, in large part, the support from Community Foundation Northern Virginia, we're on the cusp of a big expansion. So our nursery right here that we're sitting in Springfield is 1 acre. We are moving to a new site in Morton. We're going to be using 10 acres of that site. So it's a very big expansion to reach a bigger audience and to do more conservation work were it not for that sort of grant support that we get.
Yeah, and that comes from the Community Foundation. Congratulations on being a grantee.
Thank you so much.
And your garden's going to grow.
Yes,
right?
absolutely. It's going to be really
in leaps and bounds. And speaking of gardens growing, sitting beside you is Caroline Haynes, who is a master naturalist. I want you to give a little definition of what that is, Caroline, and how you came to found Earth Sangha. It also has a story connected with Maddie's parents.
Absolutely. Yeah, when we were founding the Arlington Regional Master Naturalist, the Virginia program started in 2006. We started looking at having a program in 2007. And everybody kept saying, oh, you've got to go talk to Lisa Bright and Chris Bright at Earth Sangha because they're all the wonderful conservation work they're doing. And so the Master Naturalist chapters are focused on doing volunteer service in the community to support local conservation. And one of the key areas that we do is stewardship. And so that is working in the parks and making sure that we have the kind of ecosystem that Maddie was just talking about there, sustainable ecosystem. And we also do a lot of outreach to the public as well. So it's a really wonderful partnership to have with Earth Sangha. And I have never looked back as far as just having this amazing experience with them. And our trainees continue to come down here as part of the training program so that they understand the importance of native plants and how it all works together.
Yeah. And Caroline, Master Naturalist, can you tell people what that is? When I first heard it, it sounds,
Yes. So
there's a lot that goes into it.
There's a lot that goes into it. So we have every chapter in Virginia, there's like 30 different chapters in Virginia. They're all very much locally based. And for our program in Arlington, we have about a 14-week training program. And once they're trained, they're asked to go out and do about 40 hours of service and stewardship, citizen science, and education and outreach. So that's a real commitment, and having the partnership with Earth Sangha has just been a wonderful way for volunteers to serve some of those hours and also serve the community.
I do have to tell our listeners and our viewers that when we were looking around earlier, Caroline's eyes are just lighting up because things are coming up and she's all excited about. We're going to talk about the native plant sale in a little while, but you said literally a kid in a candy store?
Oh, every time I come down here. And it's always different. And, volunteering down here too, I said it's where I really learned about native plants, because when you've got a big pot of something and you're dividing it up and putting it in smaller pots, you know that plant, you know how it grows, you understand the root system. It's just been a terrific education for our volunteers as well.
That's wonderful. Brooke, your story is so great too, because you also came here with your parents. Tell us about how you journeyed here to Earth Sangha.
Yeah, so this conversation already has showed me how interconnected this all is, because I originally got into invasive plant removal at a local park in my community, Justice Park. I've been volunteering there for about 5 years now, along with my parents. And my parents actually the first ones to introduce me to Earth Sangha, because they are master naturalists. And
it's all in the family.
Yes, for the past couple of years, they have been converting our yard to fully native. And they source most of their plants from Earth Sangha. So I reached out to Maddie to be my mentor for the Youth Conservation and Leadership Institute, which is a program for for high schoolers through the Soil Water Conservation District to implement conservation or environmentally focused projects into their communities. And we needed a mentor. And so on a whim, I reached out to Maddie and she said yes, which was amazing.
Yeah.
And through these experiences, I really gained sort of the confidence to then start my own native plant garden design business called Pollinator Patch Kids with my brother. We've been up and running for about a year and a half now. Are starting another sort of season of field sites and garden design. So
Congratulations.
yeah.
And you told me earlier that you love it because you got to see your friends who might not necessarily be what you would think. Maybe they weren't into gardening, didn't know anything about it, but you love to see them excited about the project at Justice Park.
Yeah, so volunteering at Justice Park, we have volunteers from all walks of life, all ages, and all backgrounds. I personally love to see when students, people like me, come out to volunteer because it gives me hope for a future where there's more conservationists, and show them through my experiences that you can do it too. Yeah,
That's awesome. Maddie, that has to make you feel so great.
I'm enormously proud of not just Brooke, but so many of our interns who have gone off to do other sorts of conservation work. Our conservation internship program, which has both a sort of full season option for folks who are, graduated from college, maybe they're switching careers, maybe they're looking for their first job, so they would work with us from the tail end of winter all the way to the beginning of winter, so they're getting a full year with us, as well as a summer internship program. So we have folks who went through our internship who are now ecologists and working locally here, who are working maybe more in the parks and recreation side rather than the ecology side. We have folks who have become architects and are bringing that sort of thinking to their architecture work as well. So it's just been so gratifying to see how much that has really kind of built that community. And, really, as we've talked today, we've talked about community in a lot of different ways, but Earth Sangha is a Sanskrit term. It means community. And so it's really inherent in what we are trying to do here is not just, provide these plants and make better habitat, but we want to engage the public. So you can come on Sunday mornings and shop and buy plants. And that's also an opportunity to just look around, to ask folks for advice. Now we have, between both full-time and part-time, we usually have about a dozen people here. So it's really great to see the organization growing, but also just be able to reach more people.
Yeah, and you mentioned parks. So you have a working relationship with the Fairfax County Park Authority.
Yes.
So even if people aren't gardening, they love our parks. And so tell us what you're doing with the Park Authority.
So we work with parks all across the county. We also work closely with Arlington County Parks, with City of Alexandria. We've worked with our National Park Service and our state lands up in our region too. So we've done a lot of work with them, but our closest relationship is with Fairfax County Park Authority. We work on seed collection with them. We've grown a number of state rare plants. Some of these plants are known from only 1 or 2 sites in the entire county. And so we've worked with ecologists to identify those plants, in some cases grow them out just for replanting at very specific locations. That's very, very rewarding work. But in a lot of cases too, it's about getting some of the more common species back into our degraded parks. And some of the sites that we love to work at, we have work going, we'll be doing some planting hopefully this spring at Mason District Park in Annandale. And I'm very excited about that because that is a very well-used park. It's a very well-loved park. You cannot go to Mason District Park at any day of the week and not see people using that park, whether they're using the trails, whether they're playing on the ball fields, whether they're having picnics.
Yeah.
And so to be able to go out there and make the park a more beautiful place, to make the habitat better, is so meaningful for us. And we hope it's meaningful for the people who use the park too.
So we don't like to think of these things, but you've talked a lot about how this has grown and how important it is to our environment, but also to our communities. What if, for some reason, Earth Sangha didn't exist?
It would be problematic, I think, for a lot of restoration in the region. We're a somewhat unique resource in the DC area. There are not a lot of other growers doing what we do, especially working from local ecotype seed, who really understand the plant communities around here, the species that we're dealing with here. I would say, broadly speaking, there is simply not enough supply of native plants to do the restoration work that we need to see regionally and then again across the country really happen. And in fact, at Earth Sangha, we frequently help other growers get established, offer them technical guidance where we can, because we simply need a lot more supply. We don't see it as a competition sort of thing. We need more growers to be doing this. So it would definitely leave a big hole in a lot of the conservation work that's happening in the DC area.
And you all agree.
Oh, I would echo that absolutely. And as far as the learning side as well, would be an enormous hole for people that couldn't benefit from what Earth Sangha brings.
Exactly like Caroline said, this is a great place for volunteers to come and learn something. So without that, a lot of that knowledge and sharing of knowledge would be lost.
I mean, I think people, maybe they just see it and they don't realize all the work that goes into the beauty sometimes,
And
right?
I think what's hard, if you did not grow up working in plants, right? Folks may not be aware just how much plant diversity we have right here. So there are actually over 1,200 species native to just Fairfax County, and we grow about a quarter of that. So we have a really good slice of the plant diversity right here at our plant nursery. In any given year, we're distributing about 50 to 65,000 plants out of our 1 acre container yard. As we grow, we're hoping that number goes up and we're finding more homes for these plants. But even if you're walking through Mason District Park, there are some plant communities that are there that are scarce. So if you're on some of the hillier areas, you're seeing patches of chestnut oak forest, and there's not a lot of chestnut oak forest left. So that's really cool to see. There are actually a lot of our native blueberries and our native huckleberries, which are edible. Plants that we think about, oh, those are, in cultivation, they're garden plants, but actually they're native right here, and we have wildlife that depends on them. And so part of what we're trying to do is to protect those populations, grow more of those things, put them back in, and to really fill in the gap. So in a lot of our parks around here, this is something that we don't have enough understory trees and shrubs. And a lot of that has to do with we just have too high a deer population in our urban and our suburban parks. And as the deer eat and, we lose those understory trees and shrubs, that's a lot of the habitat for our songbirds. So things like warblers, things like indigo buntings, things like scarlet tanagers, really cool, exciting wildlife that you would hope to see in our parks, don't have anywhere to build nests, don't have things to forage from. So that's another target that we're looking for at a lot of our restoration sites, is get things like our native flowering dogwoods back into these parks, get things like our viburnums back into the park.
Right, because as you said, it leads to all these beautiful songbirds. It's a ripple effect. And Caroline, we said we wanted to let people know, what are some of the native plants that might just be out in your yard that you don't realize, or that you want in your yard, I should say?
Well, and that's one of the things we encourage as master naturalists too, is just even if you're just getting started, start with a couple plants. Doug Tallamy's great read on all of this too. It talks about getting to 70% of your yard can help support the wildlife just in our own little front yards. And anyway, I just have to say too that the resources that we found here with Earth Sangha, especially with Maddie, has just been unbelievable as far as being able to understand all of those sense of community of plants too, not just community of people, but really the need for the community of plants as well.
That's wonderful. And of course, Brooke, you were saying earlier that Earth Sangha really changed your life and it's affected your future career path.
I do want to follow a career path in conservation. My native plant garden design business, Pollinator Patch Kids, right, has given me a lot of experience with that too. Earth Sangha empowered me to start this business of my own, because our goal with Pollinator Patch Kids is to promote native plant biodiversity and pollinator habitat in my neighborhood at a local level, create little oases for pollinator habitat.
That's wonderful.
And so we source a lot of our plants from Earth Sangha because it is all local ecotype, and that's what's so special about this place.
That's great.
And it's right anywhere else.
And it's right here.
It's
that
right
you can't
here,
find
too.
anywhere
Yeah.
else. That's right. It's right here. Maddie, I love what Brooke is saying about empowerment and feeling a part of community. And I love what you told me was, I don't have a degree.
I don't.
So you do have a degree.
I
but
do. It's in history. Yeah.
So I really loved when you said that. Like, anybody can do this. Brooke is not just anybody. She's really taken it to heart and really learning. But like she was saying, we're all learning, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, I think that really reflects.
And it can be intimidating.
Yeah, it absolutely can.
Right?
I mean, ecology is really complex, right? I mean, there are a lot of plants to identify. It is a very complex field to be in. But what we have found here, and I think what we hope that at Earth Sangha that we're reflecting back to our community is that when we got started, we had a lot of passion, and we started teaming up with a lot of folks who were experts in the field. And what we found is that these are people who are open books when it comes to their knowledge and their expertise, and that we could not find a local expert who worked in conservation who was not willing to go spend time outside and to go teach us things. And so our goal from our very inception as an organization has been, we want to bring that same energy to everyone else who may be coming to us for the expertise that we've developed. And it's really, I think, also been something that has driven those of us on staff here at Earth Sangha to continuously improve our skills, because we're operating in an environment where people just know more and more and more on a daily basis. And that's so inspiring.
I was trying to say, you told me that just fills your heart,
oh,
right?
Absolutely.
You're just so happy about that. And Caroline, when people come here to the native plant, can you just, because right now, everything is just starting to pop up. Can you explain to me what it's like out here during the native plant sale?
It's like a big festival. And so you have volunteers who come, Master Naturalist volunteers from some folks from the Native Plant Society, lots of great information. Some people come, as you said, very knowledgeable and know exactly what they want, and we can point them in the right direction. Other folks are like, I'm just starting, I'm trying to get rid of my grass, what do I do? And we'll take everyone, and there's always someone in the group there that can, here's an expert on this, or here's someone else that can give you. And it's very festive, it's very fun, and people walk away just happy as they can possibly be with their plants. And
I can imagine. And a lot of times I have good intentions, so it's nice to be able to come back and visit and go, that didn't go well, what did I do?
Honestly, and that's the way that we approach our restoration work. So, we talk a lot about this is an art and a science. And, part of that reason is that when you're working outside, whether it's your garden, and whether it's native plants or you're just trying to grow some tomatoes or peppers or something, whether you're working on a big park or just a little tiny thing, you don't control all the variables. You don't control how much, rain we get, how hot it gets, when it freezes. So you have to be willing to just kind of do your best and learn and adapt. And so that's absolutely the way that we approach these things at work. And, one of the things that we're here for, if folks come here on a Sunday, and we're open every Sunday now until Thanksgiving, so come on by, is to troubleshoot with folks, and honestly, when we're doing restoration work, we'll plant things and we'll think, boy, I wanted to see a better result on X species or at this specific patch. And we'll just go back and revisit it and figure out, okay, here's how we can improve. And we keep pushing through. And that's what you have to do. This isn't carpentry. You can't just make it a one size fits all. A lot of it's outside of your control.
And that's part of the fun, right, Caroline?
oh, absolutely.
To figure it out. And
Yes.
Brooke, right? You've done the same thing?
Yeah, and that's one of the main things I learned through my YCLI project, being mentored by Maddie, is that it's all trial by error, right? So I use this method of applied nucleation to plant about 5 native plant gardens in the meadow of Justice Park, which is a method where you plant native plants really densely to create seed banks for wildlife, with the hopes of pushing out the invasives, or being strong enough to push out the invasives in the long run.
Yeah.
But yes, every time I come back, I see new things popping up, maybe natives that I hadn't ever seen before, but because we'd removed invasives, they'd had the chance to come up. And that's really amazing too, to see that transformation. So yeah, what I tell my clients for pollinator patch kids is, these are native plants. We don't know what's going to work, what they're going to like. It might take a couple years for you to even see any top growth as they establish their root systems in the soil and get comfortable. But yeah, it's all trial by error. But that's also what's so fun and interesting about it, is it changes each day.
And I'll just say on our website, we have put together a compendium. So you can go to www.earthsangha.org. Sangha spelled SANGHA. /compendium.
And it will be on our website too. So yes, just so people know.
And so we have a list of all the species that we grow. And we have habitat notes and things like that, where we find these things. Because we're collecting all that seed. We have permission, and we have cooperative agreements with Fairfax County Park Authority, with other jurisdictions around here. We know where we're finding these things in the wild. So we are trying to document where we see these things thriving to give you a sense about, okay, that sounds like this spot in my garden. So then we can kind of get that established to make those sorts of things easier.
That's great. And you mentioned the website, and it will be on we'regood.net. We'll also
Excellent.
link
Thank
it. It's a great website, but I'm going to ask all of you three kind of a little bit rapid fire, but what would be the one thing?
One thing. Okay, I got to really think about this. There's so many.
This is our question that we ask everyone, is to peel back the curtain, and here it can be like dig into the soil, tell people what it is that there's the one thing that they wouldn't find on the website that you would love for them to know about Earth Sangha.
I just want to encourage people to come out and see us, especially if you're thinking about getting into native plants. I think the easiest way to learn about your specific conditions, how we can help, come by on a Sunday when we're all here, we're volunteering, it's very relaxed, and we're just happy to talk. We're happy to chat, walk you around the place. So just come out and say hi, you know.
That's wonderful. Brooke, you were saying that you love what happens here, right?
So yeah, if you come out on any volunteer day on Sunday, Monday, or Wednesday, we might do potting, which is a really, I think, fun activity. It's really fun and relaxing where we stand around those tables back there and we pot up native plants. And it's a great way to just have a conversation with someone new, right? I always walk, no matter your background, your experience, your age, you can always walk away from our Sangha learning something. And yeah.
That's perfect. And of course, Caroline, closing it out with you.
I'm going to have to echo everything that Bart just said. It's a community and it's a sense of learning, and you're always going to learn something when you come here. And it's such a positive, uplifting environment. It's just, it's therapeutic.
It is therapeutic. That's what I say. It's so great to be outside, right? And to just, even if you're not successful all the time, just digging in the earth and finding new ways to connect is so great. We thank all of you for sharing the Earth Sangha story. I'm so glad that you're here to help us learn. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for coming out.
Thank you very much. And we want to thank everyone for joining us. Be sure to listen and follow and share, because of course we want you to make sure that you are sharing all the good that you're hearing. Because as we like to say, we're good and you're good, and we can all make a difference.